The terrorists thought they'd captured an easy target, a broken man with nothing left. But they were wrong. He's the deadliest war veteran.
I'm gonna ask you one more time. Who do you work for?
I already fucking told you.
Shoot him.
The story kicks off in the middle of a dusty Afghan battlefield. We meet a soldier named Bruno, but something is off. His aim is shaky, and he's clearly struggling. He's on a mission to rescue a group of prisoners. Slowly but surely, Bruno starts taking out the kidnappers one by one. He eventually fights his way to a camp where he finds a terrified girl. A man is seconds away from slitting her throat, but Bruno ends it with a single, well-placed bullet. A fierce battle breaks out. Bruno's team moves in, leaving a trail of bodies behind them. But then, the timeline shifts to the present day. We see a different side of Bruno. He's retired now, but he's a broken man. He's living with severe PTSD from that night in Afghanistan. He lost most of his brothers on that mission, and the guilt is eating him alive. He can't find peace, and his memories are a constant nightmare. To numb the pain, Bruno turns to the bottle. While he's drinking at a local bar, a girl approaches him and starts flirting. Bruno isn't interested and tries to brush her off, but she won't take no for an answer. She notices his military pendant and starts asking about his past. Bruno tries to shut her down again, but we quickly realize this girl has a dark motive. She secretly slips a pill into his drink. As soon as Bruno takes a sip, he loses control. He's conscious, but his body isn't his own anymore. The girl leads him out of the bar like a puppet. She takes him to an ATM and forces him to empty his bank account. Before he knows it, he's handing over every cent he has. By the time the drug wears off, Bruno wakes up face down in a pile of garbage. A group of thugs are already picking through his pockets. He snaps into action and attacks them. Even though he's not as fast as he used to be, he still handles the three of them with ease. They manage to land a lucky hit on his head, knocking him down, but you can't keep a soldier like Bruno down for long. He regains his footing and unleashes his true strength. The thugs are terrified, they have no idea who they're dealing with. One of them pulls a gun, but Bruno has seen thousands of guns. He disarms the guy, breaks the weapon, and leaves them in the dust. The chaos finally ends when the police arrive. Bruno is hauled off to the station, where he spends the rest of the night locked in a cell. The next morning, we meet Bruno's longtime friend, Joe. Joe heads down to the station, posts bail, and drags Bruno back home. Joe is fed up. He starts laying into Bruno, tired of the weekly routine of bar fights and jail cells. Joe tells him straight, "You're stuck in the past, man. You've become addicted to the pain." He begs Bruno to change his life, suggesting that finding a good woman and starting a family might be the only way to find hope again. But Bruno just sits there in silence. This sets Joe off even more. He calls Bruno selfish and tells him he's running out of patience. Joe finally leaves, frustrated that his best friend is wasting his life away. Once he's alone, Bruno's darkness returns. We see him sitting with a gun, holding it to his head as he battles his demons. Just then, his friend Fitch calls. She spots the gun through the video call and immediately asks what's wrong. Bruno finally opens up and tells her the whole story: the girl at the bar, the drug drink, and the robbery. Fitch tells him not to worry and promises to track down the girl who set him up. Talking to Fitch actually helps, and for a moment, Bruno feels a bit better. But later that night, while he's trying to sleep, he hears a strange noise outside. He rushes out and finds a girl unconscious near the water. Bruno springs into action, using his training to save her. He clears the water from her lungs and manages to bring her back to consciousness. She's still in rough shape, so he carries her back to his place and tucks her into his own bed. While he's in the kitchen making her some hot soup, Fitch calls back with an update on the investigation. But Bruno isn't really listening anymore. He's focused on the girl in the other room. He brings her the soup and offers to take her to the hospital, but she refuses. She insists she just needs some rest. When morning rolls around, Bruno heads over to Joe's restaurant. Joe immediately notices a change in him. Bruno actually looks different. Bruno tells him about saving the girl's life the night before. Joe is genuinely happy for him. For years, Bruno has been haunted by the lives he took as a soldier. But today, for the first time in a long time, he's found peace because he finally saved one. When Bruno returns home that night, his heart drops. His entire house has been trashed. Seeing the mess triggers a flashback to the moment his brothers were killed in action. He's spiraling, lost in the trauma, and sits on the edge of the bed to catch his breath. Suddenly, the girl approaches him from behind. Still stuck in combat mode, Bruno's instincts take over. He grabs her by the throat, thinking she's an enemy. But as soon as he sees her face, he snaps out of it and lets go. They sit outside together, and as they talk, Bruno realizes something shocking. She has no idea who she is. Her memory is completely gone. Bruno suggests going to the hospital, but she refuses. He doesn't want to push her, so he lets it slide for now. The next day, Bruno catches Joe up on everything. Joe isn't as trusting. He thinks the girl could be dangerous and insists she needs professional help. But Bruno defends her. He tells Joe that as long as she doesn't want to go, he's not going to force her. Joe can see it clearly. Bruno is already starting to fall for this mystery woman. Back at home, Bruno finds the girl crying outside. She tells him she finally remembered something. She doesn't know the name of the place she came from, but she remembers fields of grass and beautiful flowers. She also remembers her name, Athena. But the memories aren't happy ones. She tells him something terrible happened to her there, and she's terrified of going back. Bruno sees her pain and decides to help her find some peace. The next day, he takes her to a temple. He opens up to her about losing his brother and how this place helped him heal. They start spending all their time together, and it's not long before their bond turns into something deeper. Bruno sees the love in Athena's eyes, and he realizes he's falling for her, too. Feeling like life is finally on the right track, Bruno introduces Athena to Joe. Joe is skeptical at first, but after talking to her, he decides she's the real deal. Even Fitch meets her while they're all out exploring the local markets. Day by day, Bruno's life is transforming. With Athena by his side, the ghosts of his past are finally starting to fade. For the first time in years, he's actually happy, and his friends are thrilled to see him finally living in the present. One day, while Bruno and Athena are heading home from the market, everything changes in an instant. Athena spots a tall man with a beard in the crowd, and her face turns white. She's paralyzed with fear for a second before she turns and starts sprinting away. Bruno has no idea what's going on. He calls out for her to stop, but she keeps running. She finally ducks into a restroom to hide, trembling and in tears. When Bruno catches up, he finds her completely broken. She keeps crying out, "I don't want to go back. They found me. They won't leave me alone." At that moment, Bruno realizes Athena hasn't been entirely honest about her past. She's clearly terrified, and the people who hurt her are closing in. Bruno tells her not to worry and heads outside to find that bearded man. He wants answers, and he's going to get them. But as soon as he steps out, he's surrounded. Armed thugs appear from every corner, and bullets start flying. Bruno dives for cover as the leader of the group steps forward. His name is Krieger. He turns to the bearded man, Hugo, and cold-bloodedly orders him to go grab Athena. Bruno doesn't wait around. He launches an attack, catching them off guard. They have no clue they're fighting an elite soldier. He snatches a gun and starts dropping goons one by one until the ground is covered in bodies. But in the heat of the battle, his ammo runs out. Bruno doesn't skip a beat. He switches to hand-to-hand combat. He's a whirlwind of violence, taking down anyone who gets close. Krieger watches from the sidelines, realizing Bruno isn't just some random guy. He steps in himself, and a brutal fight breaks out. Krieger is a professional, and he's good, really good. He lands several heavy blows, eventually pinning Bruno to the ground and crushing his throat. With Bruno incapacitated, Krieger and Hugo head toward Athena. Krieger looks back at Bruno one last time with a chilling warning, "I'm letting you live this once. But if you come after this girl again, you're a dead man." As Krieger's team retreats with Athena, the world goes black for Bruno. As soon as Bruno wakes up, he doesn't waste a second. He heads straight to Fitch's place. He tells her everything, the flowers Athena remembered and the men who snatched her. Fitch jumps into research mode. It doesn't take long for her to find a lead. She discovers that these people are likely manufacturing a dangerous new drug derived from those specific flowers. This drug doesn't just get you high, it completely strips away a person's willpower, leaving them in a trance-like state. Bruno realizes this is exactly what happened to him at the bar. Even worse, Fitch finds out that 5 other girls have recently vanished from that same spot. Determined to find answers, Bruno and Fitch head back to the bar as bait. They sit separately, waiting for a predator to bite. Sure enough, a guy approaches Fitch and offers her a special drink. Fitch plays along, but the moment she takes a sip, the guy gets handsy. Big mistake. Fitch isn't just some random target, she's a fighter. She levels the guy and drags him out to the car where Bruno is waiting. After a little, intense persuasion, the guy cracks. He claims he's just a low-level dealer who got the drugs at a party. He leads them to the location, but it's crawling with security. Bruno doesn't care. He storms the building, taking down anyone in his path until he gets his hands on the man in charge. To make him talk, Bruno gives him a taste of his own medicine. Literally. He forces the man to swallow his own drugs. Within minutes, the guy starts spilling everything about their secret factory. With a new target in sight, they toss the guy in the trunk and head for the warehouse. When they arrive at the factory, it looks more like a military base than a warehouse. Bruno tells Fitch to stay back while he sneaks inside. He knows he can't just go in guns blazing this time. He has to be smart. He tracks a few vehicles and finally spots Krieger and Hugo. Now he knows for sure, Athena is here. But the mission hits a snag. Bruno is ambushed and captured. Meanwhile, back at the car, the man in the trunk manages to break free and attacks Fitch. He clearly underestimated her, though. Fitch realizes he's no longer useful and puts an end to him permanently. Inside the warehouse, things are looking grim for Bruno. Krieger is personally torturing him, demanding to know who he's working for. Bruno stays silent, refusing to break. Frustrated, Krieger orders his men to finish him off and walks away. Just as a goon presses a gun to Bruno's head, Bruno makes his move. Before the trigger can be pulled, a chaotic firefight erupts. Bruno is outnumbered and pinned down, but just in time, Fitch storms in and starts picking off guards. They fight side by side, but the wave of enemies is never-ending. Suddenly, Joe arrives to even the odds. But even with 3 of them, the numbers are just too high. They're forced to split up. Fitch tries to fight her way out to call for backup, while Joe and Bruno hold the line inside. In the chaos, Joe takes a bullet. He's badly hurt but keeps swinging. Outside, Fitch is also wounded and desperately calls out for help, but Bruno and Joe are trapped in their own life-or-death struggle. Hugo pins Bruno to the ground, and Joe is fighting with every ounce of strength he has left to stay in the game. The battle reaches a tragic peak as Bruno finally takes down Hugo. He rushes to Joe's side, but it's too late. Joe takes his last breath, saying one final goodbye to his best friend. His death shatters Bruno and Fitch, but that sadness quickly turns into a cold, unstoppable rage. Bruno tells a wounded Fitch to stay back and recover, but he still needs her eyes and ears. Luckily, Bruno had the foresight to put a tracker on Krieger's car. Fitch hacks into the GPS and feeds the location to Bruno. He jumps on a bike and tears off after Krieger, fueled by pure adrenaline. He tracks them to a massive, hidden facility. Bruno takes out a guard at the entrance and slips inside unnoticed. What he sees next makes his stomach turn. This isn't just a drug lab, it's a high-tech human experimentation center. He finds the garden of flowers Athena described and corners a doctor, forcing him to lead the way to the surveillance room. The doctor tries to be smart and alerts the guards, but Bruno is faster. He drops them both and calls Fitch. She hacks the system, killing the alarms and uncovering the facility's darkest secrets. It turns out, this place wasn't just making drugs. They were harvesting DNA from missing girls to create a perfect human. The most shocking part? Athena was the main experiment. The lead doctor had rescued her when she was a child, only to marry her later and treat her like a laboratory toy. Seeing the truth sets Bruno's soul on fire. He becomes a one-man army, tearing through the facility and leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. He eventually fights his way into the middle of the desert, where Krieger is waiting. It's a brutal, final showdown. Krieger is a top-tier fighter, and he manages to drop a bloodied Bruno to the ground. The lead doctor steps out, looking at Bruno like a piece of meat. "Your DNA is special," the doctor sneers. "You'll be a perfect subject." He orders Krieger to finish the job, but he underestimates a soldier with nothing left to lose. With one last burst of strength, Bruno surges forward. He overpowers Krieger and ends him once and for all. The doctor tries to inject Bruno with a lethal poison, but Bruno flips the script. In a split second, he jams the needle into the doctor's own neck. As the doctor gasps his last breath, Bruno finds Athena. She gives her captor one final kick before they escape the nightmare. Bruno sets the entire facility ablaze, watching as the lab and those cursed flowers go up in smoke. Later, we see Bruno, Athena, and Fitch together. They've lost so much, but they finally have their freedom. The ghosts of the past are gone, and a new life begins. Bruno lost his brothers and his peace, but in the ashes of that facility, he finally found his soul. Some ghosts can't be outrun, they have to be faced. If you're ready for more deep dives into the darkest corners of cinema, hit that subscribe button and join the Cinemaned family. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.